Here's the finished clock. Just to show you where this is all going. A laser cut wall piece inspired by the old school wind pumps that still stand out on farms across South Africa. It's simple, layered and proudly local. If you've spent any time on the platteland, you know this shape. Still turning, still standing. I wanted to capture that feeling and also shine a bit of light on the challenges our farmers face today. I started off by designing the part in CAD, the hubs, the blades and the outer ring, then pulled it apart to double check how everything fits. From there it's off to xTool XCS to prep for cutting. Also, I figured it was about time that I proved that I don't only do color engraving. I'm using 6mm white MDF for this build. Cuts clean, holds detail and finishes nicely. I placed the sheet on my honeycomb spaces to avoid burn marks underneath. Then I framed everything in the software and got the S1 ready to go. Now the cutting starts. This is now the hub, the blades and the outer ring. All are going to be cut out of 2 sheets of this white MDF. And then the center ring and the back ring all gets cut out of normal 6mm yellow MDF. I like to keep the cut parts close to each other to save as much material as possible. This was done with the auto nesting feature in XCS. I don't know about you, but I always find it so satisfying to watch this laser work. Once it's done, I lift out the centerpiece and flip it over to check the back. No burn marks, exactly what I wanted to see. That's why I always cut elevated off the base if I can. Next, I'm moving over to the F1 Ultra to engrave the center. I use the outline preview feature to line it up perfectly. No guessing, just frame, nudge and go. Here I'm engraving the wind pump design onto the center disc using the blue laser. It's quick and leaves a crisp, clean finish. When it's done, I pop it open and give it a quick look. Came out just right. To engrave the numbers on the blades, I made a quick jig out of 6mm MDF. It holds 3 blades at once and screws into place on the F1's bed. Makes batching a whole lot easier. With the jig in place, I start engraving the numbers. Once the first set is done, I swap them out and drop in the next batch. Having that jig makes the whole process smooth and repeatable. This part takes a while, full assembly from start to finish. So I begin by making the outer ring. I like to glue up half the pieces all at once. Then you can simply place it down, link them together with the dovetails, and finesse them into place. I also try to clean as I go, as you do have some glue squeeze out. I like to give it a little final smack with another piece of MDF to make sure it's perfectly flat. Now we'll do the other parts and we'll just finish the ring. If your preparation in your file is good, then execution of this type of thing is actually such a no-brainer. But there is a little sequence that I found is easiest to follow in assembling these. See why you spent so much time building Legos when you were a kid. You can play the same game when you're an adult. Same story with the blades. Glue up a handful of them together, save some time. Now just make sure that you put the 12 at the top. See the little triangle cut? That's where your hook from your motion is going to be. But make sure that lines up with the 12. Another thing, sort your stuff. Make sure you don't put a 6 where the 9 is supposed to be. Because it's got seconds on it, it does make a difference. And of course the orientation of the numbers is also going to be wrong if you swap them up, but ask me how I know. So I'll just quickly finish off the gluing of all the blades. Now as a side piece, I didn't show it on this video. In hindsight, I should have. The pins that I cut for this, that's in the file. It's got a tapered side and a square side. So I like to put the pins in from the front with the taper side entering first. It's just so that I can have the flush side facing towards the face side of this watch. I hope you understand what I mean. So we'll start off entering all the short pins. There's 12 of them. This is just to secure the ring. I found it easier if you do it this way around. We actually have it line up with the blades and then just glue the ring on. Take it slow and steady. I mean, it's only MDF. These pins can split on you if you actually hit it too hard or get to be a bit too aggressive. Luckily you caught me on a calm day, so I was lightly tapping everything. I don't clamp this. I mean, it's literally just a bit of structural strength. It really doesn't need to be that strong. You're not going to be, well, hopefully you're not going to be dancing on it, so it'll be hanging on a wall. Just make sure all your joints line up nicely. Get all the pins to seat neatly. You can flip it over and do the front. So same story, here you have 12 longer pins that go through 3 layers of MDF. Do exactly the same thing. Yeah, I don't know if this is a bit too long-winded, but I actually also want to link this to the design file so people can use this for assembly as well. Make it easier. Right, so same story, gently tap it right through so that you have all your pins protruding at the back. And then we get to gluing again. I tried to design this so that the pins are actually features. It lines up with your timepieces. Oops, do you see the problem I made there? You will in about 10 seconds. Now make sure your picture lines up. I had one on skew, off by 30 degrees once. Again, it happens. You see the mistake I made in the previous step? Yep. Glue inside the pocket for the motion. Oh well, easy to fix. Now, like everything I do, this is probably so overly engineered, it's actually not funny. But I pride myself on not being the cheapest, but I try to be the best possible version I can be. I try to build the best possible version of everything I can build. This is iteration 6, by the way, of this watch. What's nice about this actually can scale quite nicely. So I make them in, this is a 400mm diameter one. I make them in 600 and 800 as well. All using the same S1 machine. You can of course use different materials. This is the cheapest one I make. I quite like using white MDF. It looks elegant while it's actually quite cheap. But you can use wood veneer or real wood if you're so inclined, and make this thing as expensive as you like. Now the screws probably isn't even necessary, but it'll make me feel better about it. So now I found the easiest way to clean out the glue is just to pull a wet rag through those holes. I was messing around with a wet brush and everything in there previously. Not anymore. This is so much easier. And there you go. Body finished. Now it's time to bring it to life. Insert the movement, line up the hands and pop in the battery. That first tick is always a nice moment. Then I hold it up and give it a good once over. Here's the finished piece, mounted, ticking and doing its job. If you want to make your own, the design file will be linked below. And if you enjoy practical laser builds like this, hit subscribe. More is always on the way.